All right, what's going on, everybody? So check it out. I already actually recorded this intro to the podcast today, and I was getting ready to publish it, getting all the other stuff, putting the podcast together. And this morning, this is Wednesday morning, the day before publishing the podcast, I got notice of another Patreon donor. So I have two Patreon donors to thank today, and it's totally amazing. The first one is Ariana. She donated $1 as a Patreon donor. That's $1 a month. That's awesome. And then we have Ruben donated $50 a month to the podcast through the Patreon account, which makes him my first executive producer level Patreon donor. So that's totally amazing. And you can imagine, I think you might be able to imagine that I'm pretty stoked right now finding that out, because that brings us to a level, brings the podcast to a place where there's some security in making sure that this will continue, like making sure I won't fail to pay my server fees, and I won't, and if something minor breaks like a cable, I can replace it very easily now because there's enough money being flowing through this system that it's ease of mind, and the possibilities are just growing in my mind of what will come now going forward. So I'm super stoked, and I'm looking forward to this train, this rhythm, this thing to continue. And I'm going to do, my best as always to keep providing the same awesome content that I've been doing, and keep finding what's going down in the Seattle and Northwest music scene, and keep being involved with it, keep bringing up the conversation of what is the culture of it. What does it mean? What does it all mean? That's what I'm going to keep on doing, and I'm stoked to do it for you. So thanks a lot for supporting the podcast with some money. It's awesome. It's totally awesome. And speaking of supporting the podcast, there's 3 great ways to do it, and one of them also is through iTunes. Go to the iTunes page for the podcast and go find it and leave a rating and review and subscribe to it. And the reviews is big. I mean, we haven't had an iTunes review for a really long time. So go over, do that. You can also donate money to the podcast like Ariana and like Ruben did, and also like Sarah. So I have 3 Patreon donors at this point for the podcast, so you can go over there and be a part of that, and that helps out tremendously. Money makes the world go around, so it'll just keep this train going. So do that for me, or you can do a one-time donation through PayPal. You can find both those links on WOTSpodcast.com. Go there on the right side column. There's a couple buttons. Click them, and you can find your way to those sources. So you could do that for the podcast, and then you could also support with a like on the Facebook page. And let me pull up the Facebook page right now while I'm talking to you. So I think I just as I'm recording this got another like on the Facebook page. So I think we're about to be at 1,000 likes. We're really close to 1,000 likes. We got 990. It's coming. 96 likes. So yeah, we're 4 away from 1,000 likes, and I'm really stoked to get to that 1,000 like mark, because I just want to because I think it'll show that things are happening with the podcast, with this kind of, there's this term called social proof. There'll be this kind of proof out there that 1,000 likes on the Facebook page. That's pretty awesome. So I'm pretty stoked on that. So if you haven't gone over and liked that yet, be sure to do it. And then also it would be awesome if you told your friends about it. So share the page and do that thing. And I always want to hear from you, what's going down with you. So be sure to go send me an email through, I have a Hotmail for it, Hotmail. It's Word on the Street podcast at hotmail.com. You can send me a note about what you like about the podcast, what you don't like about the podcast. I want to hear from you. What's going on? What's the word on the street? You know what I'm saying? And then also a great way to get a hold of me is through that Facebook page as well. That direct messaging function works awesome. So go ahead and click it, and send me a note through Facebook. That'll work just as good, and because I'm on Facebook all the time. So that's awesome. So I don't know. Can you tell I'm pretty stoked getting that next level progression with the Patreon account? Things are happening. You're making this happen. This is so awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of this. So stoked. All right, we got Devils Hunt Me Down on the podcast today. Those guys are rad, and we got together with all 4 members of the band. And so we're going to talk to them right now. So let's do this. What's up? Here we are. We are with Devils Hunts Me Down. Did I do that right? Devils Hunts Me Down.
Devils Hunt Me Down. Yes.
When I first discovered you guys, I left out the S on Devils a lot. Devil.
We found that a lot of people do that.
That's a common. That's a common thing.
The devil hunts me down, or
Yeah.
devil hunts me down. Yeah, instead of devils, many devils.
We even got an apostrophe at the end of the S on devils once.
Right,
That was
yeah.
a confusing one.
Makes zero sense.
Right, yeah.
Grammatically.
Devil is hunt me down.
Yeah, the devil is, or the devil's hunt.
His hunt.
Yes.
His hunt.
It's
is
his hunt.
me
It's
down.
His hunt, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Callum, I already know I want you to hold your mic closer if you would when you talk.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
Gotcha.
We'll get it figured out. So let's do what I like to do right off the top, especially with multiple people like this, is to do like just a go around the horn roll call type of thing. So we get voices, names, and instrument of what you play in the band. So who wants to start?
Oh, geez. Oh, look at me. I'm the lead singer of the band. My name is Matt. I also play the 12-string electric guitar for the project, kind of do the rhythm and a lot of the songwriting for the group.
All right, cool.
This is Chris, and I play 6-string guitar, and I do a lot of the backup vocals, and I assist in the songwriting and jump about.
Yes, very important aspect to Devils.
Quite a
Hunts
bit.
Me Down.
Jump about quite a bit.
The stage presence.
I am Callum. I play drums, and I hit circles with pieces of wood.
Indeed. I am Ian, and I play bass, and I try to emulate Chris's stage movements. So there's that much excitement on the other side of the stage, so it's not weird.
Yes.
So I'm happy that I have to sit down during that, because you can't really do much.
I was going to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. And as we know by now, hopefully we know by now, Ian, you're kind of co-host today, because I think
Yeah.
I think once you get
true.
to I think once you get to 3 or more guest appearances on We're on the Street, you
this
slide into
news.
a co-host role.
Well, congratulations,
This
man.
is
That's
great.
All right.
Yeah.
Us
That's
against
awesome.
you now, Ian.
Not
Us
again.
against you.
Ian,
I
tell us,
lose.
how do you feel about hosting?
I lose
Word on the
every
Street?
time.
How do you feel?
Excellent.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put the mic down now, and, and you guys can take over.
Oh, he's
Who
walking
is
away.
this Devils
dear.
Hunt Me Down band?
Where are you going?
Tell me about you.
All right, folks. Well,
So one thing we have to do, definitely, since I'm more mobile these days and exploring around with We're on the Street, is I like to create the theater of the mind. And where we are today, we're at Chris's apartment. Is that correct?
yes, that's correct.
And it's a lovely apartment. It's a very rock and roll apartment, I would say.
I would concur.
One would call it a clusterfuck.
It's got, I think we have an axe in the bathroom, a bow on the wall, and a dragon on the ceiling.
There are
Skateboard
a lot
hanging
of
from the air
dragons
conditioning
here.
unit.
And a pipe or two here and there.
Oh, well, just strewn about.
Cow
and
skull on the
The
wall.
bull skull.
Yeah.
Got my
I think
family
there's a
art
vase in the corner.
A vase.
Several vases.
And we have the Jungle Book paused on the TV.
Yes.
At 53 minutes and 44 seconds,
There's
if you're
52
curious.
minutes and 25 seconds left in the movie.
Whoa.
What's
Good
the
film.
What's the green line? Is
So
that
that's
It's a broken TV.
It's a
line.
feature of the television.
Liar.
Custom. It's custom.
All right, cool. So we got the theater of the mind going on. We know what's happening around here now. I had this one question I wanted to ask right off the top with you guys, and I wanted to throw it out there, and whoever wants to dive on it can take it. Where do you see your band fits into the Seattle music scene? Is one way to look at it. In terms of, just to give you some context, there are lots of different, obviously you can talk about genre here, and you could also talk about goals here, because there's lots of different types of bands that have different kind of goals. There's bands that want to go on tour and take over the world. There's bands that just want to play on the weekends. There's bands that just, are in various different places. So where does Devils Hunt Me Down fit?
Who wants to take this one, guys?
I was gonna my mind went to a completely different place.
Okay,
When
I
where do
love
you fit in?
interpretation.
I was like, we fit in with like the people that want to go to shows and just like let loose and release and just be super happy, and like that's like just that's where they get their kicks, is like still with live music, which is, it's not a rare breed, but it's not the norm anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that almost fits in with like our motto, which is
you have a motto.
breathe and have a good time.
Yeah.
Breathe and have a good time.
Breathe
That
and
is
have a good time.
an awesome motto.
It's written on.
My snare drum every single time.
And it's what we say to each other every time. Like we always huddle up before a show, and you can hear people kind of chuckling and laughing, like, they're having a huddle. Every show we do that, and that's what we say to each other every show before we play. We all look at each other and we say, "All right, let's breathe." We all take a deep breath and we say, "Have a great time, have a good time, have a total blast." Whatever it is, we just let's time to let loose and let's do that. So
Because it's so important to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, that's the whole point of like making music. I mean, you should be having fun while
Exactly.
you do it.
Yeah.
Is there who started that? Who came up with that? Like,
Well, the phrase, we adopted it, but the phrase is Callum.
From
Dickson.
my old band, I used to play in a death metal band called Binary Holocaust, and my drummer, I played guitar in that band, and he would always put breathe because it was so technical that he would actually forget to breathe. And he would hold his breath during very technical parts, and he would just mess up because he wouldn't have any oxygen going through his body. And so I was like, that's a pretty good idea. I'm sure sometimes, put that on there. But then I started having this point where, like, I would be so critical of what I was doing that I needed to remember that I need to have a good time while I'm doing this. That's it. As soon as I stop having a good time, then it sucks.
yeah.
So I put breathe, and then on the bottom of my snare drum, have a good time. So, and then I guess I just kind of
Who wrote "And"?
me.
We kind of, about a year or two ago, we kind of sat down and realized, because the band started just in a garage, really actually in a basement, and we didn't anticipate wanting to go out and play shows. We just wanted to have a good time.
right, that was all we were
Yeah.
getting together for. Was not to do shows. We didn't have a name. It was just me, Chris, and Callum writing music that was fun and kicked ass that we liked.
Yeah.
I think we even agreed like we would only play house parties.
Yeah, at first
Yeah.
we're like just house parties, just very small shows, really intimate stuff. No albums, no shirts, no stickers, no nothing. Like, you want to hear our
Look at
tunes?
us now.
Yeah, I know, right? We totally went off the rails on that idea. If you wanted to hear our music, you came and saw us play it. You want to hear our songs? Great, we'll play them for you. Just come out.
Were you in other bands at that time as well?
Just before that, I was in a band for 7 years in Seattle called
Okay.
SE2, where I played bass and did backup vocals.
SE2?
ESITU, SE2.
C2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Electromagnetic spectrum and the ultraviolet.
Yes.
And I was in the Tony Bridges band, Moneta, and Hexus, and Devil Sent Me Down when I started this band. And
Okay.
I was also into the Tony Bridges
Oh,
band
and
as
Matt was
well.
also in the Tony Bridges
At that
band,
time,
country
which
band
was
we
fun.
played. Tony, love you.
Love you,
Bridges.
Tony.
Wonderful band. Wonderful man.
So it sounds like, based on what you're just telling me, it sounds like Devil's Hunt Me Down started as a reaction to just like, fuck all that shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it kind of did.
And so you were just, we just want to have fun. Basically, you wanted your motto and you wanted to figure out how to live into that idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was for you just to go like, look, we're just going to get together as friends
Right.
and play in our basement.
Yep.
So this is awesome. Like, so how did it leave the basement then?
Yeah, because that's not how I saw you guys.
No,
I did not
it's,
see you guys in
it's,
the
it's
basement.
everyone else's fault.
Yeah, it really is.
Like-
So we,
Blame the fans.
Everyone just kept telling us that they wanted to hear more, and that made us excited. And
Right.
we wanted to, okay, well, we'll play this house party.
right.
And then
we'll play another house party. And then maybe we should get a bassist and a singer. Because I wasn't singing at the time. When we first started, it was just the three of us playing instrumental songs.
Oh, okay.
And so we went and we got a vocalist, we got a different bassist, and we went out and played a couple of shows, and it went pretty well for a while. Got another bassist, and it just like people kept asking us, keep playing shows.
That was the point, is that people kept asking us to play these like super rad shows. And we
Like,
were like,
yeah,
oh
awesome
god,
shows.
Like,
Okay.
yeah,
and great parties. Like we'd play house parties, and just it would absolutely be packed. And so we decided, like, okay, well, let's go do some shows and see what happens. And then people were like, well, like I want a CD, and we resisted for a while. We're like, nah, man, like this, we're a performing art band. Like if you
Yeah.
want to see the art, you come see us perform it. But it got to a point where some people were like nearly belligerent with us. Like, I want to give you money for an album, dude. I want to drive and hear you. I want to drive through awesome mountains and listen to your music. I want to do this. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, well, yeah, no shit. Like, I want to do that with my favorite bands and like musicians that I enjoy. So we kind of started rethinking it and moved forward and more and more and more.
There was about a 1.5 year period where we were instrumental as well.
Yeah, our singer left, and it was just a 4-piece with our other bassist, Sam, and...
It took us an entire 1.5 years to convince you to do vocals.
Yep.
Yeah, it took them that long to get me to do it. They were like, you wrote the music, you wrote all of these songs, the topics are in mind when you write them. Like, before I even put words to them, all of them had a story. So, like, just sing the songs. And I was like, no, I can't sing songs. And
Were you ever a singer in do any of your previous?
I was a singer in a punk band in Tucson called Full McNelson for a while. When I was just a teenager, like
The band name.
But it was never something that you pursued.
No, it was
much.
just a fun high school local punk band.
You just wanted to be a guitar player mostly.
Well, yeah. When I moved up to Seattle, I actually learned how to play bass because my dad played bass, and I joined
sweet.
C-Tune and played bass for them for a long time. Meanwhile, just keep on playing guitar the whole time too. And then
So Ian, have you seen him play bass?
I have.
Is he any good?
He's really good.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And it blew my mind, like when I first met them and he told me that story about like, yeah, I didn't used to be the singer and like I'm not a singer. I'm like, what? Like you're one of my favorite voices in the Seattle scene. Like, what do you mean that you like are not a singer? Like that's ridiculous.
Okay, Ian and Matt are about to make out. Let's go. We'll wait.
What's up, baby?
Good thing we're 5 feet away.
5-minute break.
on over
Everyone
there.
leave the room.
Let's just back this table up.
Anyway,
Awesome. So you got Matt. You started singing. So we're getting a little bit of history of the band. So why don't we just bring it up to when Ian joined?
okay.
Ian joined. Whoa, dude, are we coming up on like just near our 1 year
Almost a
anniversary?
year. We had
just about.
A year since
holy
contact.
Christ.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We had it was kind of miraculous. Our bassist, bless his heart, chose a different path in his life, and we were kind of stuck and not sure what we wanted to do. And we had a small conversation, which was, I think, hey, we should maybe see if someone could fill in for a show or two.
We had 3 shows.
Yeah,
We had three shows.
yeah.
And we were like, who could do that?
Who's good enough?
Who's good enough to play these parts? Not that we're like some technical avant-garde band.
But just they need to be quick. They need to learn them fast.
Yeah.
They need to be ready for 3 shows real quick. Who's good enough to do that?
7 to 8 songs. Who can do it?
yeah.
Right. And then we're like, all 3 of us were
Ian, see if
from
he
my
could do
place.
it.
Yeah.
Now I'm blushing.
Yeah.
And then he reached out to us, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
and
I
said,
did because I just saw it like as the minute I saw on Facebook like you posted something about being bummed about your bass player leaving, and I was like, you guys need someone to fill in for a show. I'm a bass player.
And then he was like, he said something about like, if you need me to do more than fill in, I'd be interested to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I
And they
think
were
you
like,
called me.
What?
Yeah.
So
okay.
And then Matt and Chris told me about this conversation they had, and I was like, "Guy, my penis can only get so erect. Please
it was good.
try him out. Let's do it.
We did.
it was great.
Get him here.
Yeah.
Throw some
Nailed
duct
it.
tape on. We good.
I was so stoked because I just Facebooked you, and then I think you called me, and you were like, "Do you really want to like come jam?" And I was like, "Yes." Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Ian went full bore. He got a whole new bass, 2 basses.
Yeah, you got another one coming on,
primed.
Yeah, so I had just bought that jazz bass because there was just a crazy deal on Craigslist. I'm like a constant like Craigslist scourer for like the deals on the basses that need a little bit of work, and I spend some time and fix them up, and then I always say I'm going to sell them, and then I don't. I just hang on to them like a pack rat. But then I had just bought that bass and I hadn't set it up yet, and they're like, okay, we're tuned to drop C, and I was like, what? And so I was like, well, I haven't set up this bass yet. I'll just set it up to drop C, and like filed the nut and like did everything so it like was set up for the bigger string gauge, and then, but then yeah, after that, I don't know when that was, June. Then I went full bore and bought like the Marco bass.
Yeah.
and did the
Marco
indoor
bass
kit
guitars.
drill.
Marco
Marco bass guitars.
Quality
Going down there again
instrumentation.
on Saturday.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I saw the pictures of that earlier
So
today.
did you just tell me that you guys play in a different kind of key than normal people?
So
Well, normals
or whatever. Other people?
There are many different ways to tune the guitar.
Sure.
We choose to tune down.
It's basically
full step and then additional. Each probably.
It's basically drop D but down a half step or whole step.
whole step.
Yeah.
So we're a step lower and then drop tuning. So
Yeah.
It allows us for different chord voicings.
And it sounds so heavy.
Chuggy.
Cool.
That's neat.
Degenti.
Nice. There was a question that came up. I actually
have my
was.
moment.
I was on Ian's old bandmate, or I don't know if you guys are still a band or not, but Mind Vice. I don't know what.
Long-term hiatus.
Yeah, but Michael Knapp they were at your show at the Tractor on December 2nd. It was.
Yes,
Yes.
because we are in the future right now.
We are so in the future. Right
The future. The
so
future.
they were looking at your 12-string guitar.
Yeah.
Just a really quick gear question. Do you play with all 12 strings on there?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because they were like thinking that you were doing some other thing that was different.
No, there's it's pretty common in some of like the stonery, doomy, sludgy bands. Some dudes are playing 9 strings,
Okay.
which is essentially the kind of bottom lower 3 are just singular, and then the top ones are doubled. So you have a 9 string, like the Matt Pike from High on Fire plays that. So no, this is just a standard 12-string electric.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So I want to go back. So you explained this evolution, and it was the perfect. I mean, it's oddly perfect how I asked that question about what type of band you are, and it was like you had an evolution in that question itself.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's like you started with we just want to play in the basement, but now you're out there playing shows. Was there ever a point in that process that there was resistance? There was you had to come to Jesus moment or whatever, where you're like, I don't really fucking know what I want to do with any of you, or what did it feel natural? Did it progress naturally for you?
I think we kind of just let it happen.
Yeah.
Every time we try, so Devils. This is gonna sound goofy.
Yeah, I
Devils
love it.
is its own beast.
Yes.
Okay.
It's this thing that we created in a basement, and now we're just trying to take care of it because it's
Right.
grown into this monster.
It's its own. It's not us anymore. We
It's our
obey the
Frankenstein,
beast.
or it's
Right.
Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
That's what we
Yeah.
did.
So
here.
it does what it wants. We follow its lead. And we play the songs that it wants.
Okay.
And it sounds kind of lunatic.
A little bit nutty, yeah,
but it is.
But
it's-
most things we say sound that way, so
Yeah.
it's okay.
it works so well that way. It really does. Like
If you
we
want-
all when I would say something like this isn't like this song just doesn't have the right feel to it. We all know it's kind of like that's not what this beast wants. So
we like to remind ourselves that like it's when you're playing for other people, there's an enjoyment factor. It's you're performing for them. It's this mutual experience. They get to listen, you get to play, and with us putting all of our time and effort into this beast, we get the freedom to be creative and at the same time respect kind of how that creativity is, I guess, distributed to the audience and to the fans that keep coming and saying, hey, that song was cool, or like our good friend Matt Koch is a big fan of this new piece that we've written called Rusty Nail, and he having somebody come up and say, this song, that one, I want to hear that song, is kind of a magical experience. So we try to give the people through the band what they want, and it's like this delivery method.
But there's also a thing of like, we try and, give people what they want, but also make sure that we have a good time doing it. As long as
Totally.
we enjoy it.
and are
Like,
expressing ourselves really genuinely. Like when we asked Ian to join, that was like the hardest thing we all talked about. The things that we needed from our bass player are things you can't really ask from another person. You can't be like, hey man, the three of us kind of have the ability to read each other's minds, so we kind of need you to read our minds too.
get
And
on that level
we need
real
you to
quick.
understand what we mean when we say like
Still not there.
we're making this for this beast, but it has to be genuinely from you in order for the beast to live.
Yeah.
And it's this weird dichotomy, and like, can you do? And he did it without like hesitation, which is I think another reason why Ian is such a great addition to what we do. It's a weird thing to explain, but it like allows us that freedom and space to feel completely comfortable expressing with one another, and that's how we know we're treating that beast well.
Yeah, and just like
nice.
in practices, like one thing I immediately noticed was like how freeing it was to just be able to like most band practice. I've been in tons of bands. You're all there to like learn the songs, and it's fun. But as soon as we started playing the first song and Chris just starts going crazy like he would on stage, I was like, oh, this is not an act. This is just what they do. And then so I was like,
All the time.
and so I was like,
Practices,
so it was
every
like freeing. I was like, oh, all right, I like, awesome, I will do that because that
You can
that's-
actually have fun while you do this.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was great. It was
Go on
amazing.
and hop about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a personal kind of aside to that concept, it's like whenever I'm personally playing, like my rehearsals are shows for me as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I mean, it's almost ridiculous how much I go all out when I'm in the basement rehearsing.
Exactly, dude. We're heavy breathing, sweating, smiling, grinning, just like at a show. Like if you're truly expressing yourself, and that's truly a genuine output of your expression, that will be a genuine output of your expression at practice, at shows, when you're hanging out in your car. That is like how you jam. That's how you rock. Like
it's like the thing with Kiss, how they do that little. Can't really do this over because no one can see us doing
rock
it.
bob.
when they
down.
rock
Callum is playing with an air guitar
I
right
bet
now.
you they
for
do
those-
that when they practice. I
of
bet
course
you.
they do.
Yeah,
I bet you.
Totally.
It's have fun while you practice. You might as well have fun while you play.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Well, this is normally a question I ask toward the end, but I started this different. But it's like, and you just explained there's the beast that's informing you what needs to happen.
Oh God, that sounds bad.
Yeah.
That's why we want
we're
to stay in the
satanic,
basement.
Put the
guys.
pentagram away, guys.
Beast tells
Tell me what to do.
Blowing out all the candles.
I'm actually surprised that I didn't wear my chupacabra letters today.
Okay, so one more time.
Basically, do you have a concept? Do you have a thought about where you think the beast will want you to go from here?
So far, like the main thing that has always worked and it seems to keep the machine well oiled is to just continue to be genuine with our expression, to not make the focus on success, to not make the focus on ticket sales, which we've kind of always been against. We've even said from the beginning, very, very few times will we sell tickets. Like if we're not a good enough band to bring people to our shows just because it's fun, then we suck. So that's the truth of it. So just keep having fun, keep being genuine. That's always been what made us successful. Like from the beginning, people saying, dude, that was really fun. Come play it at this bar. Come play it at this venue. Okay, we just keep playing music that kicks ass, is fun, is true, and comes right from our hearts. As long as we do that, it's kind of like everything else falls into place. It seems without almost any effort at all.
Yeah.
Which is annoying in a weird way. I come from a background of just clawing and just trying to do everything I can to get the attention of a record label. And
or radio station,
DJs, anything, and just
you know.
like half of my personality on stage came from like, well, be the showman, get a gimmick, get something that makes someone go, oh, I'll watch.
Yeah.
And I don't have to rock out in a way that is enticing or trying to grab. I get to be. It's like the reverse of everything we've tried to do.
Yes, exactly, and it's worked better than anything else we've tried to do.
Yeah. And it's wonderful. The art aspect of it, being true to that organic kind of art.
It's very authentic. It's a very authentic expression of who we are.
And it's exciting.
Well, from the way that you're describing your process and the journey that you've been on so far, right from the get-go, when you were talking about being in the basement and wanting to do just for yourselves, kind of, and knowing as an outsider, knowing where you are now, and seeing that, and what the instant thing that went through my head was like that idea of once you stop trying, once you kind of just resign or whatever, just kind of just do your thing and don't think about what you're aiming for, it happens. You know, you hear that with the dating world all the time. Like, the moment you stop looking for somebody is when you find them, you know, and things like that. So, and it's so frustrating in a way. Like as an outsider looking at you guys, I'm like, Jesus Christ, because I'm in that position of like I'm trying so hard to make shit happen, that it's just like it's funny like that.
Totally.
But like the tough thing about that, and sorry to real quick, is that there was no other way to get to that point other than for all of us to get to the point where it was like, okay, enough's enough. Like this is only going to be about me and my heart and my soul.
Yes.
And that's it. Like it took that breaking point almost to get there. And then it's like, oh, okay, now everything works. All right.
Together.
Thanks. Sweet. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine because I don't want to. I don't know.
Does it mess with your head a little bit? I think you said it does a little bit because just a few minutes ago, but because you just mentioned earlier, Chris, that you have been clawing with other projects and like really trying to make it happen. So having this kind of seem so easy in a way, it like, what does it? Do you have to check yourself and go, just let it keep riding, just let it keep doing it? Because
check myself. I never worry. I don't worry at all. Honestly, it's been humbling.
Yeah.
It's it's weird to just say that, but Devils is a constant reminder in my life that it's okay to just kind of let things be and evolve naturally. Like you're tending to a garden.
Yeah.
You know, there's you can tend to a whole bunch of plants if you take your time, understand what they need. You know, you don't have to just grow the one plant that just does everything or put all your effort. You can take your time, let the garden grow, and we've let Devils grow one way or another over the last few years, and I think that's the cool thing about it.
And I think we all work really hard too.
Yeah.
But it's
There's
like
that.
it's like we all really work hard, but sometimes it doesn't. Like sometimes it does. They're just things you have to do, and it's like just like keeping track of finances, all that stuff. But a lot of the stuff that would seem like work in other bands just doesn't. In this band, like practice is not a chore. Like just like being a part of the scene and talking to the people that we love is not a chore. Like,
it's not taxing at all.
Doing it.
Yeah, so it's like.
So there's also a thing where, like, you know, some of us, like, you know, the past couple of years, like, one of us will go through, like, a hard period and be like, hey, I need to take a step back. And, like, you know, if someone could take a little bit more on, like, the booking side or whatever, and then just, boom, it happens. And then, but even, like, as much as any of us have, like, we've all done that, like, we still just end up gravitating towards that because we love it so much. We love doing this.
Yeah.
We'll say we're going to take a month off of like helping with booking, and then like a week later, I'll be like, yo, hey man, I got show offer.
I know I said I'd take a month off, but it's not gonna work.
Never mind.
Awesome. I'm feeling this is a good time to drop in some music.
Sure.
So let's talk about one of your songs. Which one you want to do?
Oh, which one should we do?
Meow, meow,
Meow?
meow.
I was thinking ha 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 ha, maybe.
Well, the Jungle Book is up, and I'm pretty sure we saw Shere Khan earlier.
What? Yeah.
What does that mean?
He's a tiger.
No, that was a joke.
It was a joke. Probably the greatest one ever.
Ever told.
were
When
ever
you say
told.
the greatest
one ever
joke
told.
That
ever
one's kinda
told,
fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
the song is called "The Greatest Joke Ever Told."
Are we playing the song? Is that what you were thinking? I was thinking we would talk about the song a little bit first.
Okay, you and I were there though.
Callum and I were on the same page.
Right. So,
Well, it's unfortunate
Is that a good choice?
I'm not.
I
in,
like it.
I'm-
I like that song.
I can't read your minds yet.
All right.
Like you guys can read each other's minds.
So,
It's a proximity effect. Callum and I are next to each other.
The Greatest Joke Ever Told is basically a song about the absolute absurdity of humankind, which sounds like, God, I sound like such a prat when I say
Give it a
that.
minute.
Yeah, give it a minute,
Go
guys.
on,
Hang
and
finish.
So, like, really the absurdity of it, that's the greatest joke ever told, would be that we did all of this on this planet. Somebody asked me once, what would happen if, like, right now, it's like, dude, the world's gonna end. Like, we have 30 seconds left. Like, it's gonna go. I would laugh my ass off.
Hell yeah.
I would laugh so hard that we had spent this many years, this much time trying to do all of this stuff, trying so hard, getting all these big buildings and this huge accomplishment and everything, just to have it just gone. And so the first half of the song is all kind of the stupid, absurd things that I see. The first line, like, isn't it funny how someone can just put a costume on, make you walk the plank, watch you say so long? It's about the police. The police officer down the street is the same exact human person as I am. We're the same human beings. Somebody has given him a fancy costume with a shiny badge, and this man is now an officer of the law, and he can put you in handcuffs and take you to jail and shoot you. And so judges, I make fun of borders, just the idea, so many concepts that we
Nightgown.
have. Yeah, when I say
I think that's my
put
favorite.
a nightgown on, it's
Yeah.
a reference to a judge. So you
Slam
just
a hammer
put on
on
a
the table.
big
Poop
fancy
your
robe, slam a
down.
hammer on a table, and send you off wherever he wants because somebody said he could do it. We're all the same people. So in the middle point of the song, it kind of breaks, and that's the earth kind of being destroyed and humankind one last beg. You're like, wait, we were so important.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's like, I mean, just as a philosophical conversation now, like, it's
Yeah.
like that anyway. It is like that because we're all going to die, you
right,
know?
and
Yeah.
permanence
And
is
it's just-
absolutely.
we just have 100 or so years to play for a while. And
Yeah.
why we get so worked up about it all is kind of crazy.
Isn't it funny?
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? That's the main line of that song. Isn't
Like,
it funny?
yeah, what I would say is like life is a dark comedy, you know?
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We can. We're a bit satirical.
Yeah.
Very cynical, very satirical.
but
So
in
is
the
it on
best
a-
possible way.
Is it on a collection? Is it on an album?
It is on our album. A Subperceptive Dose is the name of that album.
a
And
Subperceptive Dose.
yes.
You can find that at devilshuntmedown.bandcamp.com.
You can also find it on YouTube. Somebody from
yeah.
Stone Meadow of
Yeah.
Doom
Right.
posted our album on YouTube a couple weeks ago. It's getting a lot of good plays on there, so that's cool.
Cool.
So if you want to pirate it,
Okay.
That's the place.
Please take it. Enjoy it.
just listen to
Come
it as
to a
long as you
show.
like it.
It's free on Bandcamp. If you want a high quality
Right.
pirate it, it's free on Bandcamp. It's
Yes.
by donation still. So
Yeah.
like,
Dig it.
yeah.
All right. So we got the greatest joke ever told off a Subperceptive Dose
Yep.
by Devils Hunt Me Down.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You're killing it.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how someone can just put a costume on, make you walk the plank, what you say so long? Isn't that funny? Isn't it funny how someone can just throw a nightgown on, slam a hammer on a table and poof, you're gone? Isn't that funny? Need I remind you, we have made up everything you've seen. Need I remind you, the man on your left doesn't say what he means. Need I remind you, we have made up everything you've seen. Need I remind you, we made it all up. Isn't it crazy how someone made up some magic lines, walk across them, you're lost in time? Isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy at the flip of the switch it all could blow, and who it would, no one would know? Isn't that crazy? Need I remind you, we have made up everything you've seen. Need I remind you, the man on your left doesn't say what he means. Need I remind you, we have made up everything you've seen. Need I remind you, we made it all up. We were so important, oh so important. Please just give us one more chance. We were so important, oh so important. Please just give us one more chance. What do you mean there is no second chance? What do you mean there is no second chance? I see we roll the world today. Oh, we rolled it today. I see we roll the world today. Oh, we rolled it today.
before we get back to this podcast, I just want to remind you this is a community-supported podcast. There are 3 great ways to do it. First, go over to iTunes, leave a rating or review, subscribe to the podcast. Go to WOTSpodcast.com. There's a donation buttons for Patreon and PayPal. And then, of course, Facebook.com/Word on the Street Podcast. Give the page a like. Share it with your friends. Now let's get back to the podcast. All right. So now I wanted to change the course of the conversation a little bit. And Ian, you've been involved in this process already. So this is where you can actually become the second host, or you can play along. So basically, I have 3 questions I want to ask.
Can I ask myself questions?
You can. I have 3 questions I want to ask you, and then we can just kind of go around the horn with your answers. And the first question is, why do you make music? Why is music important to you? Kind of like whatever, interpret it however you want. The second question is, who in your process, in this journey that you've been on making music, has been your biggest support? And the third question is, if there is something, and this will be interesting because of what you described earlier about how Devils works and stuff, but if there's something you could do in your musical journey, just like a snap of the fingers that you could add into it, like what would that be? And there are many ways to take it. So does anybody want to start? We'll start with the first question of, why do you make music? Matt, you want to go?
I'll tackle that first.
Okay.
For me, I mean, just the first thoughts that come to my mind is that kind of music is life. Music is everything. Since I was 4 years old, I've been playing music. It's like the thing I've done more in my life than anything else, and I can't imagine my life without it. I spend time on a guitar every single day, whether I'm making music or just playing or fiddling. I make it because it's my heart and soul out there. Like I said earlier, it is my way to express myself and things that really have deep meaning for me. To be able to let them out on the regular is absolutely a catharsis that is beyond measure for me, as well as just a joy. I have so much fun making music and creating music. And I make it a goal to make music that's fun for me, and it seems that other people find it to be fun as well. There's nothing like the shared experience of the band audience interaction together, experiencing music that we're expressing is absolutely out of this world. Yeah.
Are you gonna go all 3 questions, or should I?
No, yeah, just do one at a time.
Okay.
Seems to work out pretty well to do it that way.
Okay. Why do I play music? Music has been part of my life and my family's life for a long time. I had the extreme fortune of having a trumpet player for a dad and an opera singer for a mom.
Okay.
And they kind of always encouraged me to try and use my voice and see if there was any music in me. And but what really got me into it was guitar. It's the most amazing form of communication ever. I can sit at a guitar and express how I feel, and somebody else can then experience that thing as well. And I had a hard time sharing as a kid and talking, and music really taught me how to communicate with other people, other musicians. It gave me kind of a family to really develop who I wanted to be. And I was pretty decent at it. And it's been the motivating driving force in my life since I was like 12. I just love to play. I love to perform, and it's the one thing in this life that I know that I can. When I do it, other people smile, and that brings me joy.
Yes, I love that. Love that.
Well, I didn't really get into playing drums until I was like 13 or 14, and I've been playing guitar since I was 6 and bass since I was 12. But one thing that I saw Deep Purple and Thin Lizzy when I was 12 years old. That was my first show I ever went to, and just seeing all those people move like that. I think the thing that makes me want to play music is being able to move people like that. Like, there's something special about just seeing like a wave of people just enjoying themselves, and if I can assist in any way, then that's awesome. Like, that's rad. So that's what I want to do. That's what I've always wanted to do, is just make people move.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Ian, do you want to?
It's much nicer than shoving them.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I mean, death metal. You know, shove them in the mosh pit.
that's true.
Slam
All
'em.
of the
Gotta
above.
move one way or another.
You will be moved. Yeah, I've answered this question a few times on the podcast, I think, but I think it really boils down to a similar answer to Matt, where a similar answer to everyone. I feel like I'm lucky enough to have found my purpose in life, and music is everything to me. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Awesome. So the next question was who in this journey, knowing that you all had a similar kind of response to that, and you make it because you want to reach out to people, and it also speaks to you, and it informs you and expresses your emotions and things like that. So who on that journey has been your biggest support? Like, who has helped you through, guided you, whatever it may be? It could be a lot of things. I've had specific people that have trained or whatever, or been like instructor type people, been parent type people. It'd even be people you don't know that inspired you or whatever. So take it anywhere you want, really.
Well, I kind of feel like the basement we were talking about earlier was actually my parents' house, and no one in my family is a musician.
Okay.
And they let us practice there in that basement for a long time, and they just supported me and us through most everything we've ever been through. And whenever they could be there, they were. Yeah. So, I mean, that's...
I'd also have to say my pops in a very similar way, not just supporting me, but my father has been a support of this whole project from the beginning.
And still is.
And still is.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of anybody, maybe other than Callum's folks, who have been to more shows than my dad.
Okay.
Not anybody in the scene, nobody. My dad has been to so many shows, and it's just been a very, very vocal and loving and encouraging support of our project.
Yeah. Why do you, just as a personal question, why did he want to support you that much? Like, was it always that way?
Oh yeah, my dad's always been just a really amazing support in my life. Really, really cool dude. We crack jokes about him being Obi-Wan Kenobi and like a mind reader. And
Dr. Bentley.
Dr. Bentley. Yeah, he is legit. The things he knows and does and says, and the way he can read people is amazing. Yeah. With Chris's face, like, it's ridiculous. I mean, he used to start like mental practices and concepts and sort of trainings in those ways when I was like 10 and 11 years old. We go walking in woods. He called it Jedi training. Yeah. To teach me like how to fine tune my mind to be more open and aware, and just always been amazing. Supported me taking piano lessons when I was 4. Supported me pretty much doing whatever, every band I've been in, anything I wanted to do. He was supportive and encouraging, and just always been that rad to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm a bit jealous of that. I'm like becoming, growing through life and doing that thing and growing up and just having that, reflecting on the relationship of parent, son to parent kind of relationship, and seeing where they did support and where they didn't support, and where I wish they would have supported more. And I personally feel like I wish my parents would support me more in my musical journey. Yeah. But it's like, but they, they don't get it, so it's hard to ask them,
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely had many, many different band members who have been through that same experience of parents who did not understand, why the heck are we still out there doing this? Give up
what
already.
What future do you see in this?
Yeah, I'm like, what future? My present is what I see in this. My right now is what
fun.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate some people don't.
Was it like music in general, or was it just like the style that you were playing that they were like, we don't get this newfangled music?
Yeah, it's more this. When I was younger, when I was in high school, they were uber supportive. They like paid for instruments and but once I left that kind of world and went into like this world, like the kind of rock band kind of world, they just didn't get it. And then seeing how it played into the relationship of having a day job and things like that, like what's important. And it's like the music has always been more important, and but it's like you need to settle down and just find a way to make money kind of thing. Then and I've always done that. I've always been responsible, but it's like it's never been true to who I was.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah.
Hey guys, got to play the game.
Yeah. There's
So-
a balance. There's a beautiful balance that I think that a lot of bands that are around right now recognize. Maybe don't talk about that often.
Yeah.
This is a like super gift
Yeah.
that we get
Yeah.
to be able to do this. You know.
Especially a part of the music scene right now. Good God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. No,
It's
it's
so amazing.
this is out of this world amazing. I come from the Tucson punk scene from like the late '90s. I sound like such a damn dinosaur when I talk about like that. But it was so lively and everybody was so heartfelt, and we just went to shows. That was something when I moved to Seattle I was so surprised by. Like I would ask people like, "Hey man, you want to go down? I'm going down to a show. What show?
Yeah.
What do you mean, what show? I'm going
Who's
to
gonna
a
be there?"
show. Yeah, is anybody coming? Human beings and musicians are coming. It's a show. What are you talking about?
see
No,
people
nobody
create
wanted
stuff.
to go.
Yeah.
It was like, I know the guitar player in this band, so we're going. I don't care who you know. Like this, we go listen to him play music, and it's like that now in Seattle, which is amazing. People, I've asked so many people. Like I almost feel foolish now because it's trained me to be like, "Hey, who are you here to see?"
Yeah.
And I've had people look at me like, I
that's
saw a
the
flyer
bands,
and I
all of
wanted
them.
to come to the show.
Check them out. Seemed like a
That's
good bill.
awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Brad.
There's one guy at the show last on December 2nd. I walked right up to him. I was like, "Hey man, what's up?" And he goes, "I haven't been out in months. It's my birthday." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, hi." And I was just like, "Hello, welcome." I gave him a hug, and the dude just came to the show. I hadn't been to a rock show in a long time.
So cool.
That's wonderful. You know,
We're really fortunate.
yeah.
That's awesome. I personally have not experienced that yet. That's what I'm hoping for. Like when I look at the scene, when I'm doing my research on it, it's like that's what I'd try to do. Like I went to a show at the Barboza, didn't know anybody on the lineup, just wanted to go experience it and go, maybe I'll like one of these bands.
Yeah.
You know, and just did it, you know. And I was like, cuz I try to live into what I want other people to do in a way, you know, for me or for whatever, you know. I just try to like just experience. So that's awesome that you're experiencing that, and I hope that grows. I hope that becomes infectious with the scene, because it's like it's very much from my perspective still I only go to a show if I know somebody in the band, and I only go see that band of the person I know in that show.
Understood. You know, and that happens. You know, it's one of those things that I think. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but there's some people don't like all the folks moving into Seattle. There's been a lot of folks, and a lot of those folks.
It's Amazon, isn't it?
It's amazing. But they like to come out and rock out, and I think it's inspiring a lot of other people to do the same. You know, but Seattle has a rich musical history, decades. I mean, you could probably talk better about this, but you know, being a part of that is infectious.
Yeah.
You know, and over the last 10 years, sometimes,
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's so different than it was years ago. I mean,
Yeah,
like 10 years ago, this scene was so
Even 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it was hurting.
Well, you remember, so you and I met, Matt and I met when I was 14, so that was 11 years ago. And
Yeah,
like, yeah,
you
pretty.
came to see my band play at Studio 7.
Christmas time in my penis.
Okay, that's a
My
song.
dad
That was a
knows
song I sang.
I was
That was
14,
not what
and
happened.
so-
That was a song that I sang.
Vandals are a great band.
The Vandals are
loved
excellent.
it.
Look it up. Anyways, so
But
we
that
met
was a
because
pretty
he came
good
to my
time,
show.
like for rock and roll in Seattle. It was like at that point, but then I feel like 2 to 3 years after that, it just like dipped down into oblivion, and there was not much going on. We were in this kind of like little dark period where it was all EDM, and I'm gonna stop ranting.
I mean, I could make excuses about the
Terrible pop
depression
bands like Moneta.
Hey now.
I'm kidding.
Ain't
I'm
nothing
kidding.
wrong with Moneta.
So Chris,
I'm kidding.
Who's been your support? Because you didn't.
Oh God. I don't even know how to answer that question. Everyone. I did not. I've had a really supportive family my whole life. I've been kind of a punk asshole for a big chunk of it. So just I don't know. I can't pinpoint it. There's been wonderful. Put me on the spot, Zim.
No, it's fine. You answered it.
Honestly, my folks are incredibly encouraging. I had the good fortune of meeting a guy by the name of Jay Roberts, and he runs a music school called the Roberts Music Institute in Bellevue.
Okay.
And he was just a guitar teacher that taught me
so I have a lot of energy. And he taught me how to relax and play the guitar. And when I figured, right, it might
I
not
have
look
yet to
that
see
way.
this.
No, it might not look that way
Go on.
from the stage.
And then
but
you were like, screw this teaching.
but he taught. Yeah, it might not seem that way, but I am more relaxed than you would believe when I'm on stage.
I know what you mean.
And it's just it's wonderful. Like so that instructor Jay Roberts, that guy told me that you don't have to go all on like over the top all the time, and it allowed me to learn when to go over the top. And then his support was just monumental.
Awesome.
I know I already answered this question. I feel like I'm cheating, but actually, the answer that I answered on the last podcast, that story was about this band.
Okay.
It was about I talked about how my parents were super supportive in my family, and I was so lucky to have that support structure to just encourage me both in like weird backwards ways and obvious ways, like making me like work for my first bass, like for a whole summer to make sure that I wanted to play bass. But then that story about how I was in Mind Vice, and I was like, that was such a time commitment. And then I was talking to these guys, and I was like, I don't know if they're gonna, I was talking with Erica, my girlfriend, and I was like, I don't know if they're gonna want me to join full time. And she's like, oh my God, that's a possibility. Like, you should do that. And like, just that full blown encouragement. Whereas like most, your cliche typical girlfriend would be like, how many more nights a week is that going to require? Like, so either she's super supportive or she's like, give me space, like get out of here. But yeah, that story is about this band, and she was like stoked that I was jamming with them a few times because she loves their music, our music so much. But yeah,
Awesome.
that comes full circle now.
Totally.
I will add that Callum and Matt have been incredibly supportive to me as a person.
Yeah, big mush.
It's like, no, man,
Stop
like,
it.
we're
I
recording
told you
now,
not
so
to tell anyone about that.
all right, well, it's fine. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. That's been awesome.
We'll
We've
edit
been
that
friends for a
out.
long time.
We'll just clip that out.
Clip it, right?
No
Fine. You know what?
No editing. no editing.
It's not allowed.
Yeah. So the last of this round of questioning is the what do you basically it kind of can be a goals answer, but what I like to do, I like to use it as a chance to tell the universe what it is that you want out of your journey as a musician, like something. And I say be brave, or take it any way you want, but the thing that maybe you've been thinking about but just hasn't manifested for you, or whatever it may be, in a musical context, like what have you been thinking about, or what do you want out of your career, and if it could just happen, what would that be?
Sell out the Paramount.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I know you were looking at me.
Yeah.
Just let me play that show.
Well, I hope so.
Okay.
I think he hopes
Damn.
it's with this band.
Yes.
I'd be
He just
down
wants to
for
put
that.
together a bill that sells out.
It's not a bad goal, right?
It's not a bad goal.
If we're asking the universe, shoot. I mean, really, for me, my goal has never been like fame, like not glory or fortune or anything like that. But success, at least on a level that like all I'd have to do is my art.
Yeah.
If I got up every day and could like just walk through a woods and think, okay, like I want to craft a song today and focus on my art form and express in these ways in whatever ways I wanted to, like that would be excellent. That this would carry me to the level that, that could be what I did. Modestly even.
Yeah.
That would be delightful to have a modest living where I just made my music.
To be able to survive doing music full
Right.
time.
That
It's
would be
just like,
wonderful.
that's
Absolutely.
Whether that meant, okay, somebody wants to pick us up and take us on tour. Okay, great. Hey, they want to take you on the Japanese leg of the tour. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Whatever you want us to do, like as long as we're out there having fun and we can stick true to our art and our music, then great.
I think doing the same thing, like, as long as I can afford to live and as long as I get that satisfaction of, like I said before, making people move.
Yeah.
Like, totally stoked. Doesn't have to be like the most livable wage Bill Gates style. As long as I can live comfortably, and still like move people and make them feel things, and if they like it, then hell yeah.
That's one of the rules of the band.
Yes.
All things must groove.
Nice.
All things.
No wanking.
And no wanking.
wanking.
I was the reason that was implemented.
And everybody's like, Chris still wanks. Like, no, that's just Chris being Chris.
tasteful
You should
wanking.
see.
Yeah, that would be like just strapping a motor to him, like.
Sweeps for days. Sweeps for days.
Give him 6 Red Bulls and you'll see it.
Oh God.
He'd be doing high kicks while spinning the guitar and doing backflips off of the monitors into the crowd surfing, grabbing a shot of whiskey, pouring it down his gullet, and then stepping across heads back to finish the solo.
And then funny way to spin the guitar around his leg again, back to it.
It's like a hula hoop.
And
Yes.
I'd like to see this sometime.
right, yeah, we should experiment with
Just in
this.
the practice space. I
If
mean,
it's cool, it works.
Yeah, no, it's good. We should do a spinning tutorial or some sort of a dance.
Can you
tutorial.
spin a bass though, or does the neck hit?
Can
the
you
ground?
spin a bass?
He's like 6'2", man. You gotta remember that.
Can I spin a bass?
Oh yeah, of course you can. Just look at the bass player. Oh God, Iron Maiden, Steve Harris,
It's
right?
all about
He spins
angles.
the bass.
Steve Harris is the drummer for
Or you
Steve
could do it like
Smith.
you could
Steve
do like
Smith
Chris
is the drummer
Novoselic,
for-
where he threw it up in the air and hit himself
hit
in the
himself
face.
in the nose.
Yeah,
That'd be mad. Oh.
Much love.
yeah.
Maybe not.
Honestly, for me, I've always wanted to have the freedom. Fame was just like a key, so that I could like unlock everybody's phone number that I want to call and jam with.
Yes.
Like, how cool would it be to get to a level where like it would be awesome if we could play these awesome shows, but if I could call Slash and be like, "Hey man, you want to come jam with Devils for a little bit?"
Or Santana.
Or Santana.
You're like, you play
Yeah.
lead tonight,
That'd be
Santana.
I was thinking
Dave
just like
Grohl.
John Dyer Basley would
Yes!
be cool to know,
Yes!
you know?
Let's get the Baroness cats out.
Yeah.
It's just I was reading an article, but this old dude in the LA scene, and he was like, he's like I think 70 something now, and he's like, the one lesson I've learned is just it's all about the hang. Like at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter about the fortune or the fame. It's about hanging out with cool people and having a good time.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're saying. It's like I would just be able to like call these people up and be like, dude, let's jam, because that would be awesome. Not because I want other people to know about it or because like it's fame or fortune. Like I just want to jam because you're neat.
Yeah.
That's it.
Can I make you dinner?
Chris.
I play for food.
Awesome.
John Basley, I will cook you spaghetti if you come jam with Devils.
So,
good.
So the last question I want to ask you, or Ian, did you want to add to anything to that one? Because you.
No, I feel like I've added too much.
Yeah. Me too. No, this is great. The last question I just want to throw out to kind of all of you, and you can just kind of field it however you want, because you've already kind of addressed it a little bit. But it's basically, it's just like when I say the Seattle or Northwest music scene, what is the first reaction you have to that? What goes through your head? What goes through your mind when you hear that?
I, like right when you said it, you said the Seattle Northwest, and I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
That's what went through my mind.
Absolutely. The
Like,
Cascadian
awesome and
music
rad
scene.
rock and roll.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
infectious.
Yeah.
It's rocking.
It's strong, and it always has been strong, and that's the thing that I really love about it. And people from elsewhere don't realize that because the press doesn't cover it as much. And even when we sit here and we say like, oh, 5 years ago the scene wasn't so good. 5 years ago our scene still had bands and venues and rock and roll clubs.
Yeah.
Whereas like I talk to people in other cities and I'm like, how's your local scene there? Like, we don't have a local scene.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What the hell do you mean you don't have a local scene? Only famous bands come through here. Like none of the local, nothing. The fact that we even have one is amazing, and it's always been here since since Hendrix, since Heart, since Queensryche, since grunge, since everything. It's always been a current of art music here, and there always will be.
Yeah.
I love this area for it.
I'm hopeful for that, and I think it will, because we always seem to find a way. But currently, right now, there's a little bit of a housing crisis. You know, we're getting squeezed out with rising rents and things like that. So it's like, and I'm just worried that the original sounds will get quieter. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But
Yeah, I mean, gentrification's a bitch for sure. But
That
the people
sounds
here,
like a song name.
the thing is, I mean, like Chris was saying, part of the thing you're seeing is a more lively scene where bands are making more money now and able to do better at shows because there are more people to go to the shows. So we're hoping to see a trend in that way, kind of take an uptick, as opposed to them being drowned out. Not like that's going to allow it to make more money or anything, and enough to potentially pay the exorbitant rent prices around here now. But
Yeah, I feel like that's
but the ability to continue to make art is crucial. And I mean, I feel bad for any city who'd lose what we've got here. So hopefully we're kept around.
Definitely.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
is there anything you want to add as a Devils Hunt Me Down
nice.
side, like where, like, basically, like, let's just start with where can people find you guys online, or like what is the way people can interact with Devils?
You can email us, devilshuntmedown@gmail.com.
You can find us on Bandcamp at devilshuntmedown.bandcamp.com.
We're also really good at responding to Facebook messages. You can literally just go onto our Facebook page and either one of the four of us will respond to you.
Yes.
Probably within an hour of it happening.
Actually, that's what
Yeah.
it's rated, within an hour.
We're
Is it?
We're at an
Actually?
hour right now.
Yeah,
I knew that.
We have
New
stats on this.
New
now.
achievement
There are
unlocked.
metrics.
Awesome.
Or Instagram, which I don't
Instagram?
remember the Instagram. I think
We
it's
need to
just
update Instagram.
Instagram / Devils Hunt Me Down.
Yeah.
And then Twitter is Devils Hunt Me Down.
Wait,
I think there's no O.
There's no
in
O
the
in
down.
down.
O and down.
Devils Hunt Me
Because of the
Down.
time we couldn't. There was like it wasn't.
Someone else had it. Who else has that? Give
Nobody
us that.
has it.
No one
If
has
you're
it. It's
listening
just
to this.
One letter short.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was too long.
But they
many.
allow long ones now, I guess. I don't know.
We can do it.
Whatever.
Your brother knows that.
We're everywhere
Josh knows
online,
that.
though. All of the places.
Yeah, and we have like a
nice.
ton of videos on YouTube. People have taken gobs of live videos of us. So
Gobs.
Or come to a show.
yeah, that's more than anything. We want you to come to a show, hang out with us, come talk to us. Like, come talk to us after
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
play.
Hell yeah.
If you liked it, if you hated it, whatever.
We're all
come
very
talk to
friendly
us.
people.
Yeah.
Or stock us
tell.
old-fashioned style in the phone book. I don't know if any of us are in the phone book, but if we are, you can stock us.
If I am, I didn't do it. I didn't do that. If I am, there's phone books,
I don't know if those still
No, they
exist,
still get
actually.
delivered.
I'm
I actually
aging
had to pick one out of
myself.
my parents' driveway.
white pages. Like, I mean, yellow
Yeah, I
pages.
don't know.
I get.
Yeah, I
It's
get
like-
the yellow pages are ads, but white. Is anyone listed in the phone book?
Yeah,
I
like,
know what I am.
basically, that's a book of grandparents now. Dude, you want some chocolate chip cookies? Grab the white pages. Somebody's gonna make you some cookies in that book. I swear to Jesus.
That got weird.
I love it. So we got to put in a last song to close this out.
Let's close out the way we always close out,
Okay.
With a song.
with a song
Called.
on Passant.
And what do we say?
Well, we'll
Should we
say
say it all
Is it like a
together?
flow?
Oh, say
No,
it right
we
before
gotta
the.
tell 'em
Well,
about
yeah,
the
tell them the
song.
song.
Oh, that's right.
We're all
Yeah.
anxious
Yeah.
to jump in
Jump
and
the
play
gun
the
again.
game.
Fool me
These
once.
guys.
Shit.
All right.
On Passant, if you're a wicked nerd, you know is a chess move.
Oh, I'm
Is
not
it-
that nerdy. So
Good
I'm not-
for you, man. You are cooler than us.
No.
It's not a high
That was one of the
bar.
first things we did together. We're like, hey, man, you want to play chess?
Yep. Let's smoke some weed, play chess, and rock some acoustic
I think
guitar
one of the
jams for-
first
paper,
photos
scissors.
we ever took as a band was like us playing chess together.
Yeah,
it
I
was one of
think
them. It's
so.
somewhere on MySpace of all places.
On Passant is a move where one pawn stabs the other pawn in the back. Basically, it moves past it and like a diagonal angle instead of taking it on the diagonal. It moves behind it and kills it by stabbing it en passant in passing. And so it's a song about our original lead singer's departure from the band. Need we say more? So that was it. It was a difficult leave when he departed, and the reasons for his departure were not very well received among us, and not just us, but a lot of the friends surrounding us. And so you even hear some gang vocals provided by people that were involved in that departure. And should we tell them about the intro?
Yes, of
Yes.
course we should.
As long as I can talk about the outro, because I was there for 2 hours on the
That's
outro.
true.
Yeah.
So first the intro. Our original lead singer had a bit part in a movie when he was a kid.
Okay.
And it's a brief line in a movie, and it's on the album. That's what you hear in the background before the song starts, and it's him as a kid saying, "On Halloween they all jump off the roofs and fly," and that's his line, and that's why I also always say that every time we play on Passant. People have asked, like, "What the hell do you say before you play that song?" And we say his line from that movie every time we play it. So, and then the outro of the song
is so it was like 3 years ago. About 3 years ago, there was a huge lightning storm, thunder, everything, and I was house sitting in my parents' house, and it was right when we were when I was mixing the album. Was it 2 years ago?
Yep.
So I had all my computer and everything there. I had a bunch of microphones just in case anything needed to happen. I was just there, and it's Kirkland, right on like the hill of Lake Washington, and I could hear this thunder bouncing around the Lake Washington, all the hills and everything. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, there's a thunderstorm!" I'm like, "Oh my God, where's my 50-foot XLR cable? I got to record this stuff. This is amazing!" And I sat there for like 2 hours with two microphones outside underneath their patio. And then that sound that you hear at the end is literally just me sitting there and waiting for it. And that big woof that you hear at the end of the album is the thunder bouncing around from Kirkland to Seattle, back and forth, back and forth.
Okay.
It's one of the coolest sounds I've ever gotten. And then I had to delete the last part of it because someone decided to put their alarm on.
In the car.
So
Yeah.
it would have been longer, but it's not.
All right.
Yeah, it really needs to be longer too. At the end there.
It does. Only 30 seconds.
Well, then that's on Passant.
On Passant, and is that off of the Subperceptive Dose?
Yep, it sure is.
It's the last song in the album.
All right. Well, thank you guys. This was amazing.
Thank you, Zim.
Thank you, Zim.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and if things come up down the line, don't hesitate to say you want to be on again. We can talk about it, like other albums or cool shows or
Thank you. Absolutely.
Things are happening.
Yeah.
things are
Coming
happening.
Things
soon.
are
It's coming
happening.
soon.
We got
in the
to know
future.
you this time, and next time we can just get more technical about things like we went to this studio and we did this with this person.
Totally
Brilliant.
down for that.
Well, if we get, I won't say anything else. I'm
Okay.
excited about the
Cliffhanger.
future of this
Yep.
band. Yeah.
Do you say
Cliffhanger.
cliffhanger when there's a cliffhanger?
I mean, it's written sometimes,
don't
but
really
like
say it.
to
It's
be
kinda like a
continued.
It's implied that, you know.
Cliffhanger.
I mean, to be continued, you could
That
say.
would be the
There we
to
go.
be
There we go.
continued.
To be continued.
Yeah, all right. All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Zim.
You're
Thanks,
rad.
Zim.
Thanks, everybody.
We got On Passant
Yes.
off of a Subperceptive Dose
Yes.
by Devils Hunt Me Down. And remember always to party at the Moon Tower.
Poison
All right, we did it. We made it to the end of another version of Word on the Street. Thanks a lot for joining. Hey, something I wanted to mention at the top that I forgot to do, but that intro was long enough. It was like 6 minutes long, so I didn't want to add any more to it. But you're listening to you're listening to a new Lyft driver. Yeah, that's right. I drive for Lyft now down here in San Diego. And I must say, it's pretty rad. I'm enjoying it. I know it seems kind of odd. And so until you decide that you feel that this podcast is bringing you enough value that you want to pay for it, I'll be making money off of Lyft. Someday I'll make money off the podcast. That's my goal. My goal is to make $1,000, like a beginning kind of goal, a month off the podcast. $1,000 a month off of what I'm doing here with Word on the Street. So, and you can make that reality happen if you want, just $1. Just imagine if 1,000 of you donated $1 a month. That'd be alright. That'd be pretty awesome. So, check it out. Patreon.com/thezim is the URL for the podcast donation apparatus over there. And then you can't remember, or you can't forget, I should say. You can't remember. You can't forget to like it on Facebook, like this podcast on the Facebook. And you also have to go to iTunes and leave a rating and review and subscribe. And I always say iTunes. I know there's plenty of other places to listen to the podcast, like Stitcher Radio. It shows up on Spreaker, if you know what that is. It's just another podcast app. And then there's like probably every other podcast catcher app there is out there has it on it, because a lot of them use the iTunes library to populate their podcasts, their libraries or whatever. And then of course online, just streaming off the web at WOTSpodcast.com. When you're at home and you just want to listen to it on your desktop, you can do it that way too. So there's lots of ways to listen to the podcast. Google Play Music is another one you can listen to the podcast. But I say iTunes all the time because that's where most people listen to podcasts. That's where podcasts started, and that's still the big gun, as I like to say, for podcasters. Like, if you can make some noise, if you can make things happen over on iTunes and get the attention of the iTunes algorithms and whatever, then you're doing something all right. I don't think we're getting the attention of the iTunes algorithms yet, because there's not nearly enough interaction with comments and not comments, but reviews and star ratings and all that good stuff that you're supposed to do over on iTunes. Doesn't happen nearly enough to make iTunes even notice. But hopefully eventually you guys will do that for me, and you'll start interacting with the podcast over on iTunes and Facebook, and then of course Patreon. That'd be super awesome. I also want to mention as well that we're done. This podcast is over for all intents and purposes. It's actually been over for the last couple of minutes, but I like to ramble on the end here for a little bit. And don't forget to come to the High Dive March 19th, playing with, I didn't mention at the top who else is on the show, but it's Among Authors. Those guys are awesome. Love those guys. They've been on the podcast before. And then Honor Hall, a band that the Zim and A-Rock have had the fortune of playing with one other time at the Jet in Mill Creek when that was still open. But we're all going to do it again at the High Dive. And like I said, it's my 40th birthday, so be there. I want to see a lot of people there. And then also be sure to go to YouTube. Do you like YouTube? Do you watch things on YouTube? Oh, speaking of YouTube and Lyft, I made a video of my first 4-day experience of driving for Lyft, and what I thought about it, impressions, and all this kind of stuff. So if you want to check that out, just go to youtube.com/thezimvideo. And you can find the YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel over there, because one of the things I do as well is every week I do a video journal. It's essentially another podcast, but it's only a 20 minutes or less, usually 20 minutes or less, of me rambling on about everything that's been going down with music, like the Zim and A-Rock, personal music projects I'm working on. The podcast, I always go and do a little bit, sometimes a lot of it, but often a little bit more details about just behind the scenes stuff with the podcast, like what happened, what was interesting about it for me, what maybe came up on the podcast that we didn't go deep on and I wanted to go deeper on after the fact, maybe a correction here or there, like I might have said 2016 when I should have said 2037, things like that. So all those little details, and I talk about that. I talk about what's going on with Alexander Thomas, my clutch company, my purse making company I'm working on, and I talk about lots of other things that I can't think of right now. So be sure to go over there and check it out. I'd love to have your support over there as well. And then what else? Is that it? That's pretty good. We'll leave it at that. So thanks for joining me again on another Word on the Street. I'm loving it. I hope you're loving it too. All right. Till next week. Peace out.